What's up, everyone? How's it going? My name is Matt. With me is Dylan. We're here on Fantasy Filmball, and today we're going to be breaking down the live-action short category. I've seen all of these films, all 15 of these. This is a category that I know a lot of people, when they're predicting nominations, they have no idea what the hell to do with them.
Like me.
But I have seen them all. I can tell you what is what. I might not get all of these right, but I will at least tell you what each of these films is, so that you can then make a more informed decision. Because sometimes Gold Derby also has not seen these films, also has no idea what's going on. So I might not be perfect on this, but you will know a little bit more about what the films are based on my descriptions. So, as always, I'm going to start off with the category of No Way, Not Never. And I think that here it's a little bit easier than with the animated shorts, which we previously covered, because I don't think that anything can make it here. I think that there are some things that are very clear-cut no's, because this category... Okay, let's break down some things about this category. They like social issues. They like jokes. They do not like experimental-type films. They do not love when a film feels too small. They do love when a film is one take. They do not always go for the director that you recognize the name of. For example, a few years ago, Pedro Almodovar had a film in the shortlist. It did not make the final cut. They do like when there is a recognizable star in one of the films, but there are no recognizable stars in any of these. So, but yes, don't just go, okay, I recognize the name of the director, that's getting in. This branch does not do that. They like to award and nominate people who are up-and-comers. That's just how it is. And a lot of the time, you will never hear about the people who get nominated in this category ever again.
So Gold Derby has 6 movies here, but I think, would put into your category of no way this is getting nominated. It's 100 to 1 odds. And I want to hear what movies you have, and let's see the overlap y'all may have between the two of you.
I will also say I've got 6 in the No Way, Not Never category. So first one that I'm going to say, Plastic Killer. Plastic Killer is a horror film. It is an absurdist horror film. This is a movie about a woman who she has a plastic bag that she cares for as her daughter and says, "This is my daughter," but it's really a plastic bag. And someone from the neighborhood watch comes around to her house and is like, "Hey, throw out that plastic bag. That's a piece of garbage." And she's like, "I will not throw out my daughter." And then the woman in the neighborhood watch mysteriously turns up dead. And a police officer comes around to interrogate. And it's an absurd horror film. It's not the type of film that gets nominated here. It's
Gold
not
Derby
the type of
has
film
it
that gets nominated here.
At 60 to 1 odds at
What the
9th
fuck?
place.
How is that? It is like, ultimately, I didn't really dislike this film because there were some very funny lines. Like, there's one moment where the character sits down and like looks over a sheet of paper, and then she's like, "What am I doing? I can't read." And like, it's absurd, but like, there's no goddamn way that this happens. There's another horror film here which I think is actually more likely than this. But horror is not the genre that they're going to go for in this category. Last year, there was an incredible horror film shortlisted called You're Dead, Helen, and it did not get nominated. There's no way Plastic Killer gets in. It feels like a student film, and not in a great way.
So your number 14 would be?
Number 14, Siderol. Siderol is a Brazilian film. It is about, a young working class child whose mother works at a space station, not a space station, a space launching pad before Brazil is sending their first manned mission into space. And then the mother, who is the janitor of this place, she sneaks onto the spaceship in search of a better life. It's a very slow film. It's very artistically shot. It doesn't have much to grip onto. It has a great punchline at the end. Not punchline, but it hits you with like the theme really hard at the end. But ultimately, this is just not the style of film that gets nominated here. So I don't think it has a chance. Is that one of the 100 to 1s?
It is. So your number 13 would be?
The Right Words. This is a Belgian film. This film is about a brother and sister on a bus. And they kind of poke fun at each other, and the sister convinces the brother to go and confess to his crush that he has a crush on her, but she doesn't even know who he is. He's just been watching her from afar every day. It's sweet, but it's very Gen Z. It's very Gen Z, and it doesn't feel like something that the Academy would go for. It doesn't have enough of a hook to it. So I'm going to say no chance, no way, not never.
Okay, your next one.
Almost Home. What are the odds on this one?
So far, your last three have all been 100-1 odds.
Okay, cool. Almost Home is it's a it's a German film. It's a COVID allegory. It is a sci-fi film. It's about a mother and son on a space station, and the son is he is immunocompromised, and there's a pandemic that breaks out on Earth, and they have to decide whether they want to return home or not. And the son wants to, and the mother wants to protect her son. It's not very good. The special effects are fucking incredible on this film. It looks high budget. It looks professional. The story is really dull. The acting is not great. But in terms of production quality, this is pretty incredible. That said, we've seen films they don't go for sci-fi here. There's a film last year that was very highly picked on Gold Derby called Censor of Dreams. Did not make it in. That was a sci-fi film. Did not make it. This is a sci-fi film. It will not make it. I can't remember. I think that the last time like a sci-fi or fantasy film got nominated was Helium in 2013, and it won, but I don't think this will not make it. It doesn't. It's too obvious. People are tired of COVID.
All right, next one.
Tula.
Okay.
Is this also 100-1?
It's the very bottom one.
Oh, yeah. Tula it's actually it's amusing. This is a comedy. It's about a young woman who comes into a bathroom at her school, and she meets the janitor in there, and the janitor, she starts throwing up, and the janitor's like, what's wrong? And the girl's like, I think I'm pregnant. And it becomes very clear very quickly that this girl is not pregnant. She just has no idea how pregnancy happens because there is no sex education. And the janitor ends up giving her and all of her friends a lesson in how babies are formed. And it's really sweet. It's got a great punchline at the end. Ultimately, it doesn't feel like something the Academy is going to go for, but it has a good heart, so it's possible.
All right, your final no way this gets nominated movie.
No way, not never. Warsha. Warsha is where's this on the list?
Number 4.
Really? Okay.
5-1.
Here's my reason why Warsha is not happening. It's an experimental film. Mm-hmm. It's not really experimental, but it's experimental. And the thing about this movie is that it starts off with a topic that's very relevant. It's about a Syrian refugee who's working as a migrant worker at a construction site. And then he volunteers to take a job in a crane, in the most dangerous crane in the city. He goes very high up into this crane. He's overlooking the city, and then he begins to dance, and he imagines himself as a... you know those dancers that they like hang from ropes and like dangle and flip down or whatever? He imagines himself as one of those dancers dangling from the chains of the crane. Okay. And that's what the film is. It's about a Syrian refugee who imagines himself to be dancing on this crane. Incredibly well shot, but ultimately it's an experimental film. It is a film about a man retreating to his imagination and seeing himself dancing. It doesn't feel like a nominee to me. But again, maybe Gold Derby's right. Maybe I'm wrong. But just to me, the nominees that I've seen in the past, this does not feel like a nominee.
So, Gold Derby also has All in Favor and Night Ride at 100-1 odds.
Interesting. I have All in Favor at my number 4 spot. So, I'll go over that in a moment. But here's my next category, which is my probably not, but like who knows. So number 9, I've got Night Ride. I think I know the reason why Night Ride is 100-1, and it's because if anyone has seen this film, which this is one of the easiest films to see. It's a New Yorker short film, so people could easily find this and watch it. And a lot of people on Gold Derby are going to react negatively to it because this is basically what Skin was a few years ago, which was a film that tried to depict racism but ended up kind of being racist. This is a film that tries to depict transphobia and ends up being a little bit transphobic. This is a film about a woman who she's waiting for a streetcar late at night. She's waiting for the tram, and she ends up hijacking the tram and taking it for a joyride instead of waiting for it. So she's driving along. She picks up people along the way, and one of the people that she picks up is a trans woman and a group of very boisterous men who make a lot of noise. And the men, one of the men hits on the trans woman only to learn that she is trans, and he starts to harass her and threaten her. And the film is about the driver of the tram, this woman who hijacked the whole thing, realizing that she needs to step up against the violence that's taking place in the back of the car. Ultimately, this feels like something that the Oscars could do because it is a film that it's a film about transphobia that centers on a cisgender character. That feels like something that the Oscars would do. It's a film with very limited understanding of transness and about how harmful it can be to depict trans violence, and how harmful it can be to misgender characters. There's some of that going on here. This would be the most controversial nominee of the year, and I don't think that eliminates it from being a possible nominee. So it's my number 9 here. I don't think it's getting in, but it's possible. Then number 8, I've got The Lone Wolf. This is the better horror movie than Plastic Killer. What are the odds on The Lone Wolf?
48-1.
48-1. This is possibly, it's not my favorite in the category. It's one of my favorites in the category. The Lone Wolf is a great film. It is a one location, one shot horror movie. It all takes place in a radio station as a radio broadcaster goes live, and he takes phone calls from people, and someone from his past calls him to confront him about something that he might have done years and years ago. It is so goddamn tense. It is a one take, which we've seen over and over. This branch loves one take films. They fucking love one take films. But ultimately, it's not about a social issue. It is just a straight up horror thriller film. And that can hurt it eventually because there's no big reason behind, like, why should I vote for this? Ultimately, though, it feels stylistically more bold and brave than any other film here. Then we've got Evalu, which this is it's a film directed by a previous winner in the category. So the guy who directed Helium, which won in 2013, he directed this film. I don't think it has as good a reason to win. This is a film about it's set in a very, very northern Scandinavian country, and it follows an indigenous community as a young girl. She searches for her sister who has gone missing. And it's a tragedy because obviously you're in these sheets of ice and a young girl is missing, presumed dead. It can only get worse from there, and that's what this film is. But ultimately, I think this is one that is probably going to be predicted. I'm going to guess this is probably in the top 5. No? No. Okay.
Number 6 at 42-1. The top 5 are all under 10-1 odds.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, with this one, it feels like one that could happen. It's emotional. It's beautifully shot. But like I said, they don't always go for people who are established. And this director has made feature films, has won this award in the past. And that to me feels like it is a disqualification from this category. Then at number 6, I've got Le Pupil, which is a film from director Alice Rohrwacher, who is a big Italian director. She directed Happy as Lazzaro. She directed The Wonder, both of which won awards at the Cannes Film Festival in feature categories. This is a Disney-sponsored film. This is a Disney Plus original movie. And she's the most artistically renowned director on this list. And that is ultimately why I don't think she's getting in. Because they don't go for the big directors in this category. They don't. And Alice Rohrwacher is way too big a name. But this is a story of a Christmas at a all-girls Catholic boarding school just before the breakout of World War II in Italy. And it's about a young woman realizing that it sometimes can be good to be bad. We follow one girl as she goes from being the goody two-shoes to being a little rebel. It's sweet, it's fun, but ultimately, this is the human voice. A few years ago, Pedro Almodovar was here. Everyone thought he was going to get in for the human voice. He did not. So, there we go. Where's this number one? I'm guessing it's number one. It's not number one. This is the human voice.
Okay. So, that means you still have 2, 3, 5, 8, and then one of the 100-to-1 odds left, making up your top 5.
Yes. So the number 8 one on Gold Derby, I'm going to assume, is The Treatment.
Yes.
So The Treatment, I was not convinced by at all until I saw it. And then I was like, okay, this feels like... Okay, there are 2 types of films that this branch loves. Number 1 type of film that this branch absolutely fucking loves. Social issue dramas. Number 2 type of film that this branch fucking loves. Comedy films with a punchline at the end. A few years ago, my favorite film in the category was called Nefta Football Club. And that was a film about a drug cartel that lost one of their mules, their drug mules, that was carrying a shit ton of cocaine. And that drug mule, they're trying to find it, and it wanders into a kid's soccer game, and the kids use the cocaine to make the lines to map out the stadium, and they basically waste like $50,000 of cocaine. The Treatment has a similar punchline. It's a film about a couple that goes into a doctor's office to say, hey, doc, we heard you have a treatment for baldness. And because the man, he's gone bald and he wants to fix it. And the doctor's like, yes, here, there's no side effects except, and here's a side effect that's like very unexpected. It's a great, funny concept. They take it funny places. It's a one scene thing, but it hits you with a punchline at the end that I think is going to stick with people. And that's why I have it at number 5. It's a weak number 5. I think it's possible that Evalu or Le Pupil makes it in here, but ultimately, this is the one that I think feels it feels like a number 5 slot to me. Then at number 4, we've got one of the 100-to-1s, which is All in Favor. Here's my arguments for All in Favor. So this film, it's a one-take film. It feels like a play. It's very dynamic. We've seen them do this in the past. Last year they had White Eye, which is a one-take film. Previous years they had Mother, which was a one-take film. This is a one-take film. It's set in an apartment building at it's like a board members meeting of this apartment building. And one of the people there tells everyone else he's found someone to rent his building, and it's someone who has gotten out of a mental hospital. And everyone else in the building is like, hey, we don't like that your tenant is someone with mental health issues. And the film becomes a debate between everyone as they gradually change their mind as to what someone with mental issues means. You know, they're scared that they're going to have like a psychopath in their building. And then gradually they kind of grow to learn and discuss why it might be okay to have someone there who struggles with mental health issues. I think that there's a thematic through line to this that makes it feel like it could be a nominee. It's shot in an interesting way. The acting is very good. All of this feels like a nominee to me. There has to be a reason why it's 100-to-1, though. So this is probably the one where I'm totally wrong on this. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I feel pretty confident in it.
All right, so top 3 time.
Top 3. Red Suitcase. The Red Suitcase, this is the most tense film in the lineup. It is my favorite film of all of these. It's my favorite film of all of the short films this year. This is a film about a young woman who gets off a flight, and she's terrified to pick up her bag. It's a red suitcase, and she's terrified to pick it up. And she gets calls from her dad being like, your future husband is waiting for you outside. He's waiting for you. And we can tell that she's trying to escape an arranged marriage. And her arranged husband is waiting for her in the airport. So she takes off her head scarf. She's from a Muslim family. She's had this marriage arranged in another country. She is away from family, and she's about to leave her entire life behind. And the film follows her as she wanders around the airport, trying to hide from this man who is screaming and basically asking everyone, showing her picture, being like, where is this girl? Where is she? Show me where she is. Like, I know she's here. It is so goddamn tense. It is so hard to watch. And it's like a really, really powerful story, shot with a lot of meaning, a lot of intention, and it gives a perspective that we don't normally see. This is a potential winner in the category. And I think it's a lock for a nomination.
All right, top two.
Top two, An Irish Goodbye. Banshees of Inisherin as a short film. It's very Irish. It's a very dark comedy. It's about two brothers figuring out what to do with the remains of their mother, the ashes of their mother. And one of the siblings has Down syndrome, and he's very attached to the urn. He doesn't want to do anything with the urn because it's his mom. But it's a dark comedy. It's about love. It's about brotherhood. It's very sweet. And they cast two fantastic actors. The actor who has Down syndrome is incredible. But it just feels like voters by proxy would be like, Banshees, An Irish Goodbye. Mm-hmm. It just feels very similar in tone and is very Irish. That's why this is my number two. It could easily miss because maybe I'm overestimating this and thinking too much into it. But this is a strong one. And then my number one is Nakam. Nakam it's the longest film in the category, but it's a film about a young boy who is a violinist at a concentration camp. And he ends up being kept around by the SS because he can play the violin. And his parents have been killed, but he stays. And he begins to plot his revenge against the concentration camp officers as he plays the violin for them. Something I've learned in the short film categories. If a film talks about the Holocaust in these categories, it's winning. I learned this lesson a few years ago when Colette was a documentary nominee. And I was like, that is the most boring film in the category. There's no way it wins. But that film talked about the Holocaust, and it won. And ultimately, I'm going to go with the same thing here. I think Nakam, it's the most slickly produced film. It looks great. It looks like it could be a feature film. It feels like it could be a feature film, and that's why I think it can win. Okay,
so my overall thoughts here is I think I have Irish Goodbye, Red Suitcase, and Nakam as my top three. And then after that is where my questions go. I think I'll probably lean towards the Gold Derby side and include their number one overall, Pupil, just because...
Yeah, that feels smart. Honestly, I probably will end up putting that in too.
Just because the odds here are so variant. It's not like the other categories where there's like 10 things all within like reason. There's a top 5 distinctively and then a huge drop. But I think I will take one risk pick with you and not do Warsha. And in that place... I think I'm going to put The Treatment in there just because you said they do like comedy. That would be the only like real comedy. I mean, you said Irish Goodbye has like dark humor, but like this would be the strict like haha comedy. And all in favor from what you described sounds yes, but there must be a reason why that's 100-1. So
there must be. But if you're looking for good odds in this category, you could get 100-1 there.
You could. So for people out there, if you want to risk it, from what Matt says,
all in favor would be a good risk pick.
Yeah, would be a good risk. And you take away Le Pupil, which is like the top odds. Right now it's at 69-20. I have it at 37-10. So like it's out there for like a risk pick.
Yeah. So something I'm going to say last year, one of the nominees that they did pick was 100-1.
Mm-hmm.
And it was The Present. The Present got nominated last year. It was 100-1 odds before the nominations. So they don't always get this right.
Fair enough. I like that mentality, and hopefully I'm all for surprises, especially when it comes to getting odds to help beat you, because this is how the people who come out at the top of Gold Derby get there, is because they look out and they get 5 out of 5 in these categories. So like maybe they miss out on, like last year, I'm trying to think of one, like a Nightmare Alley in picture, but guess what, they got 5 out of 5 in the docs, while you may have got every picture, every director, every actor, but you went 1 out of 5. And
that's the thing, if you go with the Gold Derby top 5, you're going to get 3 right.
But
you're going to get 3 right, but everyone's going to get 3 right. So, and that's the risky thing. And sometimes, here's the thing. I watch all of these films. Sometimes that makes me biased. Sometimes that makes me choose things that I probably shouldn't have chosen. So that's why I'm trying to give you guys all the facts of what the films are and why I think that they're strong or not strong. So ultimately, it's your choice in the end. But I hope that this has helped you become a little bit more educated in your guesses for live-action short film.
Definitely, it's helped me. I've made some big switches because like coming into this, I just take the top 5 and then rock from there. But I've got some switches here, so everyone out there, let us know. Are you rocking with 100-1 odds, or are you just going with the consensus top 5 to play it safe? But until next time, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this is Fantasy Filmball.